Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode. In today's episode, we have the pleasure of introducing you to Lauren Lomsdale, a remarkable 15-year Marine Corps veteran. I'm gonna start over.
Okay.
I don't know why. Hold up. My mouth is tongue-tied, and this is spelled wrong, which kind of threw me off. Lomsdale. That's right? Lomsdale?
Lomsdale, actually. Yeah.
Lomsdale.
Lomsdale.
Lom. Okay,
Yeah.
let me put it this way. Okay, so thank you for correcting. Hey everybody, in today's episode, I had the pleasure of introducing you to Lauren Lomsdale, a remarkable 15-year Marine spouse, and is not only living a military life, but it's also living her dream and carving out a niche for herself in the digital media space. For the past decade, Lauren has thrived as a freelancer, wearing multiple hats as a talented writer, a self-taught web designer, a creative marketing specialist. Her journey unfolds in the digital realm where she has seamlessly blended her passion for creativity with the demands of military life. Currently stationed in Okinawa, Japan, Lauren's story takes us on a journey across both time and space. Having moved her online business through different states and overseas, she has epitomized the adaptability. I'm going to skip that part. She epitomizes resilience that freelancers with a military connection often possess. In this episode, we'll dive into Lauren's experience, uncovering the intricacies of freelance career, the challenges she's faced, and the unique opportunities that being a military spouse has presented. From crafting a compelling narrative, mastering the art of web design, and navigating marketing, Lauren's story is a testament to the power of determination and innovation. Join us as we unravel the layers of Lauren's journey, exploring the intersection of military life, freelancing, and the boundless world of digital media. This is the Owning Up podcast. I'm your host, Moni Jefferson. So get ready for an inspiring conversation with a true trailblazer. So let's dive in. Welcome, Lauren, to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, I am too. I'm so excited. So Lauren, for those of you that are listening, she is in Japan, which means it's 11 p.m. So first of all, thank you for doing this.
Of course. I wouldn't miss it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I really wanted to talk to you because as I was thinking of conversations that spouses have online all the time, one of them is like, how do I navigate remote work in another country and all these? That's a super hot topic. And I was like, well, you're doing it well. You're showcasing what you're doing. And I was like, I really would love for you to come on, have a conversation and share with other spouses who maybe have this coming down the pipeline or have done it or, are scared of it. So before we dive into all of that stuff, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Tell us about your business.
Yeah. So like you mentioned, I have been married to my husband for 15 years. We've been stationed in a lot of places that the Marine Corps doesn't usually send people. So we've been to Fort Leavenworth in Kansas, which is an Army base. We've also been to Key West, Florida, which is where we just came from. And so that's been great. And so I've had the opportunity not only to move to all these different places, but to experience all different areas of military life, connect with military spouses from other countries. And it's been really great. So right now, I have two businesses. I have Aura Digital Consulting, which is my web design and creative marketing business. And I work with clients all over the world and all different time zones. And I have 4 virtual assistants that work under me. They are all military spouses. They all live back in the States. And we work mostly in web design. We also do email marketing, branding, SEO, digital marketing, kind of the whole gamut of taking somebody's business and making sure they have a digital footprint and bringing that business into the online space and growing it and expanding it through marketing, web design, and making everything connect and work together and flow and all those good things. I also have a set of courses called the Work From Home Milspo, which are courses for military spouses who are interested in learning skills in web design and creative marketing so they can start or find a job as a creative marketing virtual assistant, which is a very PCS-friendly remote career that allows people to have a job that can move with them. Again, overseas, I'm in Japan, and I do this, from here, and I've done it from multiple different states. And it's a career that not only is flexible to military lifestyle, but it also has room for growth because every business needs a digital footprint. So every business needs a web designer. They need someone to help with email marketing. They need someone to help with SEO and branding and creating digital products. And that's where these creative marketing virtual assistants come in. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, and what you do, like you said, is just so you can move it from place to place. And that is the power of entrepreneurship. Like that is one of the things that we talk about here at AMC is like you can have a PCS proof type of business or something remote that you can move. And a lot of times it's really learning some of these really cool skills that people all need because everybody does need a digital footprint. I mean,
Yes.
seriously, we all do in the world of like being online. So I wanted to ask you because, like I said, a lot of our military spouses have to move overseas. So we're just going to jump right in. I want to get to the nitty gritty because I have questions too.
Yes, absolutely. I'll answer everything.
Unless you had 4. Okay, so let's dive in. You get orders to Okinawa. First of all, what was your reaction?
So we had put in. So we were kind of in this weird space where we knew my husband was going to be up for the command board, and we knew that there was a command opening up here in Okinawa. So we thought, well, we kind of would rather move, make this big move to, Okinawa that's open and possibly get put in a command spot there in Okinawa versus having to move in a year to Okinawa. So say we go to North Carolina and then have to move to Okinawa because he got put in command. So we kind of expected it. They usually, if you put Okinawa as your number one, they're usually going to give it to you. So we were excited about it. I mean, we really wanted the cultural experience for our kids, and we wanted to be able to provide some travel opportunities and things like that. And we had heard great things about living here. And like everything in military life, if we didn't like it, it's temporary. So, in a few years we'll be gone anyways. But we ended up, we really do like it here, and we've done some really great traveling already. We've only been here for about 7 months. So yeah, it was an expected set of orders, but not one that I think I thought. If you'd asked me 10 years ago if I would move to Japan, I'd be like, I don't think so. No, that's like not in my cards. But taking the adventures of military life, it was something that we were interested in doing. And I knew I could move my business. That was a big consideration.
How did you figure that? Because I know even moving stateside, you're the second thing is, first thing is like, where are we living? And the second thing is like, what am I doing with my business? How is that going to affect my, how am I going to transfer the LLC? Am I going to do, a registered agent? Like what? So now moving to Okinawa, like what was that transition for your business? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So my first concern for me was, how am I going to retain my clients? Because I thought, how am I going to do this when I'm 14 hours difference from my clients and I have these meetings? And, it was a distinct discussion with my husband because I do set pretty strong boundaries with my work days. I work till a certain time. I don't work nights. I don't work on the weekends. So it was a conversation with him ahead of time saying, hey, if we move there, I'm going to have to take calls at 5 a.m. or 11 p.m. at night because I've got to make time for my clients. I can't expect them to, come to me at 11 p.m. So their time. So that's just kind of how it's going to be. So we talked about it, and that, he's always been so supportive of my business and its growth. So that was kind of a non-issue. So that was my first concern. And once I, let my clients know, hey, this is where I'm going and this is, what that's going to look like, they were all very supportive of it, willing to adjust to the time difference and know that I'm asleep sometimes when they need something. And I have one of my VAs is my personal assistant. So she steps in if I can't be there immediately for anything. But that was my big concern. In terms of my business registration, my LLC and things like that, I actually am self-proprietary. So I didn't have to worry about moving an LLC to any location, just doing business as. So it wasn't a huge shift for me. And in addition to that, Japan has really great SOFA status for military spouses who work from home or who work remotely. So it's not the same if you move to Italy or Germany or Spain, because their SOFA rules are different. So I knew moving to Japan, I was in a pretty safe space with working, and we live on base. It's another issue if you live off base. We knew we had to live on base. We knew we had to I had to make sure my clients were good. And it was not too big of an issue. But now that we're getting into this new year, we have looked into what we need to do to register as an LLC, because my brand is expanding pretty rapidly. So it is a little bit of an adjustment for that. But in terms of kind of getting here, it was okay. It wasn't too hard. I'm fully remote. I don't sell anything, sell physical products or anything like
Right.
that.
I was going to say you sell services.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say you sell services, just for those people that are listening. You sell a service. You don't sell any products at all. And so tell us more about like what some of the SOFA like rules and things that you had to look into to make sure you were okay there in Japan.
Right. So of course, anytime you move to a new base location, if you're living on base, you do generally in the Marine Corps, and I know the Air Force too, you have to, I don't want to say ask permission, but you do have to usually fill out some sort of form that you were doing a home-based business. And the biggest thing is that it cannot conflict with something that the military is providing as a service. So something like certain foods being sold, or sometimes people have issues if they want to run as personal trainers, because there's personal trainers available at the gyms and things like that.
Oh, gotcha.
So sometimes that can be an issue. Not so much for what I do. It's, web design, email marketing. It's not something that the base is providing as a service. And then the other thing like I mentioned, I have to live on base. So if I live off base and I run a business from home, I technically can't do that unless I have somebody in Japan kind of co-owning the business with me. And I'd have to pay Japanese taxes and things like that. So living on base was a necessity. I didn't really have the option to live off base for that. But otherwise, for SOFA status, that's basically it's an agreement between the host country and the United States government to say that the people living in this country on military orders, we don't have to have a special visa, a work visa, or anything like that. We're on these special military orders. And for the most part, for what I do as service-based, I don't sell products. It's not all that different than living anywhere in the United States to run my business. So, it's not too hard. If you run a product-based business and you have to ship stuff out, there's certain rules, like you can't use the military post office, the FPO or the APO, FPO boxes to mail out your business products. So if I were to sell t-shirts or something like that, I can't ship them using an FPO mailbox. I'd have to ship them internationally. So that's something to consider if you're product based. But in terms of an LLC, again, you would have your business registered in the state in which you want to register on it. You would have a registered agent for you to receive all of your, documents and your mail and things like that. But you wouldn't have to register as a foreign entity or anything like that here. It would just be as if you were working within that state that you were in, or, your business is registered in. So it's not all that different here in Japan. Like I said, Italy is much more strict. Spain is strict. Germany's stricter, but not as strict as Italy. So it is different based on your location.
I think Spain just lifted their SOFA to really become a little bit more flexible on that.
I think Italy did too. So I think
I think they're all going to fall in line. Like like spouses. Like I feel like, when these agreements were made, like way back in the day. Right?
Oh yeah, nobody.
Boom of spouses using your talent to build profitable businesses. There wasn't a need for it because the evolution of the military spouse has gone from like supporting and being the good old stay-at-home wife and
Yeah.
doing all this, which is great. If that's still what you do, like there's nothing wrong with that. But the boom
Absolutely.
and the influx of the empowerment of military spouses saying, hey, you can control where I move. You can control my military member. We're not going to control is my talent, what I decide to do with my career, and when I decide to do it. And so when those agreements were made, there weren't spouses like you and I. And if there were, they were so far and few in between.
Right.
There was, you know, now we're like ringing it from the rooftop saying, hello, pay attention. And so that's why there's all of these conversations being had, in addition to when you look at the current economic forecast and status of like our military families with the food insecurities, with the unemployment rate, with the retention rate, with the suicide rate, mental health issues, all of those things can be solved with military spouses just having something of their own, which is a lot of times a business, like just something where they're using their talent, where they're just something that having something to wake up to and do for yourself with your talent, or something that motivates you, does something so special to your soul. Like
oh my gosh, I couldn't agree more. Like that is one thing that I have been like, I feel like screaming from the rooftops for the past decade. When I had my first daughter is when I first started freelance writing. And the reason was because I felt like I was getting sucked into this stay-at-home mom, so-and-so's wife role. And although I was happy to be a stay-at-home mom and I was happy to support my husband in his career, I felt like I was losing myself and my own identity. And so I was like, I need to do something for me that uses my talents. And at the time, I have my master's in education, so I wasn't going back to teaching, but you know, I'm a pretty good writer. So I started freelance writing, and that kind of got my foot in the door and I self-taught my skills that I know now through my experiences in the past decade. But that really was the reason why I started to look for something that I could do remotely from home with my growing family and moving all the time, so that I could not necessarily make a ton. I wasn't in it to make.
It's not about the money. It never has been. Right.
No, right. Yeah. Like none of these women on Instagram that are like, I made $8 million in 3.5 seconds. And, you know, these crazy claims that they have. And, you know, I just wanted something for myself. And you hit the nail on the head when you talk about retention rates and mental health issues and happiness, you know, just quality of life in military life. When you give that spouse something that's for them, when everything else is about the military, you will see, you know, you'll have the people you want to retain will stay because their family's happy. The reason they're leaving is because their family doesn't want to do it anymore.
Well, they're miserable. I feel like it affects so much of the household. I know it did personally for me. I just felt I felt very motivated. I felt very just depleted. And like, I remember just thinking like, I'm always waiting around. Like I'm just always waiting
for orders.
Doing something.
Right.
And as soon as I started to freelance writing for Lincoln and Corbin's military housing.
Okay.
And like people like want to listen to what I have to say. They want to and it was like the wheels started turning. And for me, it was everything. I talk about it all the time. Like $75 check, like changed my life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's what it was for me too. I think Military Spouse Magazine paid me $30 for like online articles. And I was like, hey, like I can go to Starbucks, you know, and you like,
it was like, it wasn't even about the dollar amount. It's more about like, you value what I have to say, and it's my talent, and it's something that has nothing to do with the kids or my husband. It's my experience, my feelings, and people want to hear what I have to say. I feel like that is so powerful. So to every organization out there, hiring military spouses for freelancing or whatever it is, know that you are really like, you are doing so much more than you can imagine. You could be setting the launch pad for what they can be doing in 5 years, in 2 years. So if you're listening, kudos to you guys. All right, let's talk about some of the challenges maybe that you've had and encountered as a foreigner in a different country due to your, your current assignment? Like, are there any unique challenges that you've had to overcome in that? I mean, I know you mentioned a time.
Right. Yeah. The time difference is, do you mean just business wise or personally as
I would
well?
say just business wise right now. Yeah.
Yeah. The time difference is the big one. All my clients are stateside. So, I have it on my signature actually that says the time difference. So they know that you know, I'm 14 hours from the East Coast. I'm 17 hours from the West Coast. So they know, like, I may not be awake. I'm not ignoring you. I just might not be awake right now. Um, Other than that, I haven't had any real significant challenges outside, I guess I would say, of the PCS. I have great virtual assistants that really held down the fort. We set things up. I was kind of out of pocket for about 2 months, June, halfway through May through middle of July, doing, the pack out and the PCS and all that stuff. So that really slowed down my business for about 2 months. And so I felt, how am I going to pick this back up again once I get there? How is this adjustment going to be with my clients? Are they really going to fall in line with the time difference? Is that going to be a struggle? But it's been okay. After that 2 months, things started picking back up again. And, the same sort of stuff. I still network online and all that stuff
Mhm.
to make sure that I'm staying up to date and connecting with new people here, there, and everywhere. One thing it's going to seem kind of odd. It's not really a struggle, but just something I've noticed is that social media wise, I'm posting like my stories and things like that when I'm awake, and I get very little interaction because they're following later in people's feed on the top because I'm not posting when they're awake. So people aren't seeing my stories, and, social media wise, it is a little off because outside of pre-scheduling social media content, anything live is not being seen
Yeah.
until 12 to 14 hours later. So that has taken a little bit of ding on my engagement, but client wise, everything's going great. And I've actually have 2 clients that I've gotten here in Okinawa, both nonprofits, the Marine Thrift Shop here on Camp Foster, and then also helped set up a new food pantry with,
Oh, wow.
neighborhood pantry here on Camp Foster. And that was a full branding project that we did for them. So that's been really cool, that being able to work with nonprofits here on base. That is
Yeah.
another thing to keep in mind, though. I cannot work with people off base.
Oh,
I can only work with people here in Japan that also have SOFA status. So I can't have a Japanese client. I would have to pay Japanese taxes if I wanted to work with somebody who's a local Japanese native. That's just an offshoot thing. So I just have to work with people who also have SOFA status if they're here in Okinawa.
wow. That is really cool. So now you were talking earlier about how, you were really looking forward to like the cultural experience for
Mhm.
your kids and stuff. How has
Yeah.
that been? How many kids do you have?
We have 3 girls. They are 12, 9, and 8.
Oh,
Um, yeah. So still kind of in that, we're getting to that preteen tween stage. So that's always fun. Um, yeah. So it's been, I was really nervous about driving here because it is on the left-hand side of the road, and the driver's side is on the opposite side of the US. So that was an adjustment. I had to like really think to myself which way I was turning on the road to make sure I wasn't going on the wrong side here. Um, but culturally, the Japanese people are very friendly. We've been here, the US has been here in Okinawa a long time. We've really integrated well with the, you know, with the local culture. I don't want to put any feelings on any local Okinawans, how they feel about the Americans, because some don't really appreciate our presence. But in terms of us, going out into town and talking to the local population and engaging with everyone, it's been really great. And our girls are taking Japanese lessons
Oh,
and
that's so
trying
cool.
to, learn some simple phrases. And hopefully by the time we're here, we'll be here 4 years by the time we leave, really have some language skills in Japanese.
Yeah.
Um, so it's been really great. And I sit on the board of the Okinawa International Women's Club, which I really wanted to do because it brings together some of the Okinawan locals
Mhm.
and the American, military, and we meet together for luncheons every month, and we do cultural exchanges. So we'll do 1 month we'll do a local Japanese event, and then they'll do an American
Oh,
event the
wow,
next
that's
month.
so
And
cool.
so we just had our 70th anniversary. So it's been going on since 1954 with military spouses kind of engaging with the local culture here. And so that was one thing I really wanted to do when I got here. I usually don't do spouse clubs like at all,
Yeah.
but this one I wanted to do to kind of engage with the local culture here. So
Yeah, and it seems really carefully thought out and crafted, which makes
mhm,
the experience of being part of that something impactful
sure,
instead of like a filler. It seems like
right,
it's like, here's the goal of this. And I really
yeah,
love to hear you guys are exchanging. And I think that that's so important when we are moving,
right,
especially overseas, because, our kids, how we react is how
right, of
they
course,
react.
yeah,
So you saying, hey, I'm diving in, I'm,
uh-huh,
doing this, I'm doing that, it really opens up for military kids to see, like, my mom's doing it, my
right,
dad's doing it, I can do this
yeah,
because
for
I
sure,
know, having a conversation with the kids and saying, we're moving 14 hours away,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
that's hard for
that
some,
is, yeah, yeah,
and especially you have, tweens,
mhm,
that's a whole nother beast, but
right,
they're more attached to their schedules and their
mhm,
ways of life. And I feel like,
sure,
that's such a great opportunity when we do get a chance to travel overseas.
yeah,
And I love that you're navigating the freelancing and the remote work and showing other
mhm,
spouses you can do it.
yeah,
So as we were talking, I just thought, like, kudos to you for, like, diving in,
oh,
saying, like,
gosh,
hey, I usually wouldn't do it, but because I'm
yeah,
here,
yeah,
it's different. I feel like that
yeah,
makes it like a level up. Like, hey, this is not just to get together and chit chat. It's really to embrace each other's culture and all of
yeah,
that. I love that. I really
yeah,
love that. Okay, let's talk more about, or let's dive into the your work from home, your courses, because
sure,
as you were talking about earlier, like, these skills are things that
mhm,
spouses can use to build a business. So if we
right,
are, a spouse is thinking, I want to start a business, we still get these
mhm,
questions. Like, even at AMC, we've been around for 4 years. People are still like,
yeah,
I want to start a business. What should I do?
yeah,
Right. So tell us more about the courses. These are things that you can do from anywhere.
right,
And so tell us more about the trainings and things like that, because what
sure,
you do specifically teaches them how to generate revenue. One of the goals we're doing this year is to teach spouses how to generate revenue. There's enough master classes out there. There's enough,
yeah,
hey, come hang out and learn about this.
yeah,
Military spouses don't have time and they need to make money. So tell
right.
us more about that.
Yeah, sure. So, my courses are geared towards military spouses who are interested in learning how to become a creative marketing virtual assistant. So, learning some of these back end skills to help small businesses or solo entrepreneurs kind of build their online digital brand or space, or expand it, or refresh it whatever they might be doing. So, we teach web design on 3 platforms: WordPress, Wix, and Squarespace. Email marketing on 3 platforms: MailerLite, MailChimp, and Flowdesk. We teach you how to connect those. We teach you how to set up a campaign or a newsletter, how to do an automation, how to do a pop-up. We do search engine optimization, very basic stuff. A simple brand board with how to get your hex values and make sure all your branding stays consistent across your social media graphics and your website and things like that. And at the end of the course, I partner with Wise Advise. So students are able to connect with Wise Advise to
Mhm.
get a virtual assistant job faster. I also have a new partnership kind of in the works with another virtual assistant agency, Military Spouse owned. And then I give a list of a bunch of different virtual assistant agencies that people can connect with to find a job. But we are expanding this year, which I'm really excited about. And you mentioned military spouses coming to you with a idea and they don't know how to get started.
Mm-hmm.
So we have what's coming up, hopefully in the next 6 months, is going to be called the Startup Mama Collective. And it's basically going to be these courses, but broken down by niche. So let's say you're a product-based business or you want to be. All right, so we're going to teach you how to set up a Shopify site, an Etsy site, connect email marketing to that, what types of content pillars you're going to want to be focusing on. Let's get your Instagram set up. Let's do all these tech things that stop you.
People forget about. Let me tell you, people forget about this stuff. The tech stack, how to make it. They're like, learn how to build a funnel or get an opt-in. Well, what do I do once I have the opt-in? Like people just don't. Every time I see those things, like you were talking about earlier, I made $8 million in 3 seconds. I feel the same way. I'm like, you are telling them to do this download, but there's no tech stack behind it.
There's no, and it's a question that I see all the time from my clients coming to me saying, hey, I've got this great opt-in, but I don't know how to get it to my list, or I don't know how to tell people about it. So it really is saying, going to break down, all right, let's talk about how you're actually going to do this, not a lot of fluff of you can do it, girl. Like, of course we'll give you some motivation, but at the end of the day, that doesn't help you get to that, reaching those goals and how to actually get this done. So Startup Mama Collective should be coming here, and hopefully my fingers are crossed for June. But then I also have a job board coming up here in February for my students who I wanted to be able to provide them with additional resources for creative marketing virtual assistant jobs. So we will have a job board that will be open to my students or anybody who applies who has virtual assistant skills. And I'll be really strict on checking that. But I share a ton of posts all the time about all these jobs that are open, and people just need these very part-time VAs or little projects that they need help with. So my VAs will, all my students will have the opportunity to see these jobs and be able to apply for them, and hopefully kind of get one step closer to securing a position or building their portfolio as they grow their business. So lots of stuff going on, but it can be done.
Yes, it's encouraging to hear, because you're saying, what you're saying is like, hey, I'm doing these different things. You're doing them in different milestones. I think that's also really important to point out. It's like, you've been doing this for over a decade. It doesn't happen overnight. And a lot of times when we have conversations with spouses who are new in business, they're looking at other people and saying like, oh, wow, they are doing this and that. And it's just, if you're listening to this, it happens over time. It doesn't happen overnight. And everybody's start is different, and everybody's journey is different. And so if you're just at a starting place and you're not, and you're like, wow, that's so cool that you're doing all this stuff, Lauren, like those are things that you can say 3 to 5 years, 5 months, 8 months, and have milestones, because it happens over time. And here's another really quick tip. You don't want it to happen all at one time in the beginning.
No.
You are not prepared. Let me tell you, you're not prepared. You are not prepared. Like, you're like, oh, I want 10 clients. Honey, you are not prepared if you just started 6 months ago. Let me tell you something. What's going to happen is you're putting the cart before the horse, and then you have unhappy clients, unmet expectations, and the experience that you gather for each milestone. You're like, oh, I'm going to do this. Now we're going to do a bulletin. Hey, I have to verify these spouses are legit, because my name's on it. Like, these different things are well thought out because of experience that you've had. So because of the experience, you can take that and say, these are the things we're doing, and this is why we're doing it in different times. So,
you're definitely right. I mean, when I first started as a freelance writer, I was waking up at 5 a.m. to write for 2 hours before my babies woke up from, in the morning. And I might be able to get work done at nap time, but I might not, and it was very broken type of work until my kids all kind of went to school. And that's when I could start really expanding and growing my business. And it does, it takes time, it takes experience, it takes, pitfalls and figuring out, how to handle the bad situations or the uncomfortable situations or the clients that you're like, oh my God, I just want to get this through. Yeah. Like, how do I let you go without being a jerk? You're driving me crazy. But yeah, it's not overnight. And that's what kills me about these claims of making a ton of money in, short period of time, because those people usually come with either a background or an audience already. And, and it's just not what you think it is. Or they're just not flat out not telling the truth. So, yeah.
And all of those, like what you were saying, it builds stamina. So if you're if you're thinking of it like as a marathon and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this in the morning. I know what I can get done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
I know what I can get done in an hour. All of that builds stamina that allows you to build a really great schedule. Once your kids are in school, you're like, oh my gosh, like what can I do? With 6 or 7 hours, it's crazy. So,
but that time does go by fast. You're like, oh my God,
it goes by fast.
Yeah.
It goes by so fast. Fast. Oh my gosh. I know we're going to get ready to wrap up here soon, but I wanted to kind of chat with you a little bit more about, you talked about expansion. What kind of skills do you feel are necessary to have a remote business? Like if somebody's, getting out of the corporate world and or just starting a business, what kind of skills do you feel like for a remote job, for what you're teaching in your courses, spouses would need to flourish and make it work?
So outside of the technical skills, outside of some of the stuff that we teach, the web design and the email marketing and things like that, there are some personal attributes that I think are important to have to thrive in a remote type of environment. Some people don't love working remotely. They like to be in an office environment. They like to have other people around them. You have to be self-driven. You have to get up in the morning and say, okay, I'm going to sit down to do this today, not, oh, so-and-so invited me to lunch and, I'm going to go walk the dog for 2 hours because I can, and just avoiding your work. You have to be willing to sit down and get stuff done. On the opposite side of that, not opposite, but I guess in conjunction with it, you also have to be able to set boundaries.
Yes,
you may work from home, but that doesn't mean you're always available. You have to say, this is my work time, even if it's a discussion with your spouse of, hey, yes, I get up early. Maybe you don't, who cares? But I've got to get this block of time. I need this block of time every day, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is. And you don't say yes to everything. You don't say yes to the people asking you to lunch or to go to a spouse event. You can, but as long as it fits your time. And you make time for your personal life. Don't burn out with work. I have one virtual assistant who just had a baby. Actually, you know her because it's your virtual assistant too. Alyssa works for you too. And every time I ask her if she's, okay to do something, I'm like, please, you can tell me no. Like, you just had a baby. You're allowed to say no. It's too much, so you have to be able to just recognize that you can, your personal life is important too. That's a huge perk of working remotely and being your own business owner, freelancer, entrepreneur, is that you can say, I need to take time for me, and this is how I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And I will say, like, that's something I'm leaning into a lot this year. Like, I started my first PR company like 10 years ago or almost 10 years ago. And I feel like I was really, really good about it. I had like the first 2 years were like crazy. Then I started to be like, oh, I need boundaries. I need to go to the gym. I need to make sure I'm taking care of my health. And then it went really well. And then I launched AMC, and it's just been like boom, boom,
crazy.
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
And so that's why this year, like, I've been having a conversation before November.
Mhm.
Told my team, and I decided, I was like, I'm going to start pulling back a lot of stuff. So I started saying a lot of no's to
Mhm.
opportunities to speak in November and December.
Yeah.
I started saying no's to things in January.
Yeah.
I said no to something in the summer already. I'm
Mhm.
saying, like, I really, like, do not neglect your personal and family time,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I feel like in a blink of an eye, the kids just grow up so fast.
I know.
And
I
then you're
know.
like, oh my gosh, I've given so much so much time and
Yeah.
energy to this. And at the end of the day, like, it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
You can always
Right.
get another client. If you know what you're
Yeah.
doing, honey, you can always get
Yeah.
another client. You can always
Right.
keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
like the kids and the experience, like you're in Japan, like
Yeah.
experiencing life, those are
Right.
the things that like really give you that quality of being
Mhm.
and happy to go to work and happy to do
Right.
things, because you
Yes.
have like, I'm doing this for myself and my family, and now I'm going to do work. And it makes you
Yeah.
happy, not burnout,
Yeah.
not miserable, not obligated. I
Yes.
think there's so much,
Absolutely.
yeah, there's so much in that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So right before the new year, we went on a 2-week Southeast Asia cruise. And so that was like our time to really,
Yes.
see this part of the world. And I came back, in January ready to I was like, I've got all these ideas. I've got all you're refreshed, you're vibrant, you feel like great. Whereas if I were to just work through the holidays and, miss out on all these fun opportunities, I may not have felt that way when I got back. And we, as a family, make sure we make time for those types of
Yeah.
things. So,
I love that. I love that. I feel like we have so much in common when it comes to that. Like, we do
yeah,
see the value of, like, we love having our business. We love being a CEO of what we're
right.
doing, creating what we're doing for other people, but we very much appreciate and prioritize the quality of life. So if you're
Right.
listening to this and you're a military spouse and you're like, but I need to get all these things done, I promise you, there's always going to be an email. There's always going to be a
Yeah.
to-do list. Take
Yeah.
the time for the things that are going to pass by that you can't go back and do again,
Yeah.
which is the life
Absolutely.
experiences.
Right.
Oh my gosh, this has been so good. I'm really excited to share
Good.
this
Yeah.
episode and just to talk to you. Before we
Yeah.
wrap up, tell us a piece of advice you would tell your younger self as a military spouse.
So it actually kind of goes along with what we were just talking about. I would probably tell myself not to worry so much about my to-do list. So I don't know if you know much about Enneagrams, but I'm an Enneagram 3. So I love to check off my to-do list. I love to be like, I got this done, this done, this done. And I found myself as a young mom, as a young military spouse, getting so frustrated when like the kid's nap got cut short or something didn't, my timeline didn't work out because I couldn't get my work done. For a younger military spouse, maybe that has young babies at home or is just trying to figure out how they can kind of balance this work life, parenting, military life, like you said, it will always be there. Yes, of course, there are certain things that you need to get done for your clients or for, your project or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, you're going to miss out on some of these really great things with your kids or with your family if you're just like, I have to work, leave me alone. I have to work. Just it's okay to say, I've got to take care of this first.
Yeah.
Um, and take care of yourself and your family and make sure that's first, and work and your growth, your business growth will come, and you actually will probably see a lot more growth when you take care of those things, that personal side of your life first, because you'll be ready, to attack your business once you get to that point, and you'll have learned how to manage your schedule and set boundaries and do all these things. So yeah, I think as a young military spouse, I'd probably tell myself, just take a breath. It's okay if you don't get everything on your to-do list done as a new business owner, new entrepreneur, or freelancer. Yeah, I think that would be my biggest thing. I think that would be it. I was going to say, I would tell myself to start sooner because I didn't start
Oh,
the virtual assistant thing, and because I was nervous and I didn't think I had the skills yet. I just kind of was like, well, I'm just going to freelance write for a while. But I think if I had started on the virtual assistant side, I would have been able to expand my brand earlier. But, everything, I guess, happens for a reason, as they say. So I'm very happy with where we are now, but definitely take your time for your family. And don't be scared to jump in if you have an idea or you have a business or something, because even if it seems like it's not going to go anywhere for a little bit because your kids are too little or life is too crazy, at least a step is a step.
Yeah.
It's not going nowhere. So start. It's not going to be perfect, but also make sure you take care of your family and yourself.
I love that. And I know that resonates with so many people. So thank you so much for being here with us today. Tell us where we can find you and how we can connect with you.
Sure. So you can find me, my web design and creative marketing firm or agency is auradigitalconsulting.com. And then I also have my work from home Milspo courses. That's at the wfhmilspo.com. And Instagram and Facebook at those same handles, basically the WFH Milspo and Aura Digital Consult on Instagram and Facebook, all that stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with me, especially time difference and everything. I know that our audience is going to get so much from today's recording.
Perfect.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.